Okay. Let's see. Did I call your name? Ah, there you are. So when you're done, you can go ahead and take one of each of those two sheets there and have a seat over here. Gregory? Ariana? And Matthew. Okay. Hi. What's your name? Go ahead and grab one of each of those two sheets there, and then you can have a seat over here. So before we get started, I just wanted to ask if you need to go to the restroom, which is right over here behind, on the other side of that wall. If you don't mind exiting, actually it's going to be tricky. Maybe you can cut behind the camera if you're on this side. If you're on this side, just, you know, along the side there, the outside when you exit. Are we up yet, or are we still waiting?
You can go ahead. We won't have the computer. But if you want to get started, yeah.
Here comes Jaime. I think we're almost there. So how many of you are returning? That means you've already been here a semester and you just needed to make up the orientation from last time. Everybody, okay, you're doing a makeup orientation? Okay. How many of you have online classes? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. More than half of you. Okay. Of those of you who have online classes, how many of you attended the online class orientations on Tuesday night and Wednesday night? Good. Okay. We're going to talk about what to do if you miss the mandatory orientation for those online classes. That's really important to being able to succeed in the online class format. I'm probably going to repeat this once we get the video feed set up, but just for your, I don't know, entertainment, so you don't have to sit here and wait in silence. I'm just going to give you a quick heads up on what we're going to do. So we're going to go over the new student checklist, and it's a two-sided paper that you should have. If you don't have a copy of it, they're right there on the back table. So there's a two-sided new student checklist and the important contacts. Marshall from DSS. Are we ready to go yet?
Yeah, we got to do.
Okay, cool. All right, so my name is David Giamo. I'm one of the academic advisors in the Student Services Department in B113 and the B building. And today we're going to be doing the new student adult high school orientation. And we're going to have a quick word from Marshall, who works at the Disability Support Services office. Then we're going to go over the new student checklist and the important contacts list. You should have that handout, which is available on the back table there. And then we're going to take a quick look at the career pathways handout. Then we're going to take a look at the website. There's 5 or 6 main features on the website that I want to make sure that you understand and that you're familiar with. And then we're going to run through a short PowerPoint, and then I'll take some questions if anybody has any questions. So I guess I'll go ahead and have Marshall come up and say a quick word about disability support services.
Hi everyone. My name is Marshall. I work for the Disability Support Services office here at Sanford Lake Mary. What I do is I take care of all the technology throughout all the campuses. So what is needed online, in class, we'll find a way to get it worked out. So what do we do? Our office provides academic accommodations for students who have disabilities, and what this does is kind of give them equal access to all academic curriculum. It's kind of like a leveling the playing field for all students. Some of the accommodations that we do offer are extra time, maybe testing in the testing center, distraction reduced area, maybe note takers, maybe for visual students, there's some software that will help them to hear rather than see stuff. For deaf students, we'll have interpreters. Maybe we'll do alternate format of textbooks to where it'll a different version may help a lot better. We have stuff to help read. Tutors, stuff like that. And how do you qualify? What our office needs is some kind of documentation from a physician. If it's from high school, usually the IEP 504, we accept that to give you extra time. But any kind of documentation from a physician, whatever's in that documentation will determine what kind of accommodations that you can receive. it's kind of like a 30 to 45-minute process with our office, kind of like an interview, kind of feel what you need, how we can help you, and to make everything successful in your, college life. And the things that's different between high school and college is that within college, the student needs to self-identify. So if you need help, you actually need to come to us and tell us that, you would like to have some accommodations. You bring your documentation. We try to help you out that way. Whereas high school, the state of Florida says this is what you're going to get. This is how we're going to do things. We also help with, maybe temporary impairments. If you have like a broken arm that you're writing with, carpal tunnel, you can't really do the keyboard. We can provide temporary accommodations to help out with that as well. What can you do to help a student with disability? Every semester we try to hire note takers. So if there's someone in the classroom that needs to have notes taken for them, you can volunteer, you can get paid for doing it, you can get prior to registration and things like that. We do have an office in the B building now, every Monday and Wednesday from 11:30 to 12:30 in B114, which is just right across the hall from Dave's office. So I'll give you a quick look at our website, especially for all the online students. So here's our main page. We do have a lot of information. Everything that we talked about today is on here, especially how to register with our office. We can, click on this link and it'll give you registration, it'll give you forms that you can fill out prior to coming to our office to reduce the time. And it just gives general information for each kind of condition that you may have, what is needed in order to get accommodations. And just feel free to browse, and there's a lot of technology stuff on there and tutorials and all that. Is there any questions? Any questions for me? If not, thank you for your time. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, Mark. See you next time. Okay, so that was Marshall from Disability Support Services, and if you have any questions, you can always go to the website, and you can always stop by the office, and we'll give you a referral form so you can take it over to DSS. Did you mention where your office is located?
Our office is located right down the hall at SC130. So other than B114, we do have an office in this building, which is SC130. There is an office on each of our campuses, so if you are in Oviedo, we have one there, and there's also one at Altamont. And it's all in the student administration area.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Which is basically right, for those of you who are here in the room, it's right over there past financial aid to the right. So if you're coming in the main entrance, you're going to go over to the right. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Okay, so thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the checklist, and we're going to run down the checklist. Let me just navigate over to the checklist on the website. So for those of you who are viewing the live stream, we're going to go to degrees and programs, and then let's see if we can get the pop-up. This mouse pad is a little bit tricky. All right, we might just follow the cookie trail. So from degrees and programs to the adult high school, and then from there we're going to click on the admissions link, and then we're going to scroll down. So everything that I've passed out today, the handouts, the new student checklist, the important contacts, the career pathways, and the PowerPoint is all actually on the admissions page of our website. So for those of you viewing remotely, we're going to look at the new student checklist right now. So Complete the application is the first step of the process. A lot of times students get confused, so I want to be clear about the definition of complete the application or apply versus register. So applying is simply filling out the application, submitting your supporting documentation, and getting your student ID number, and then you create your My Seminole State account. That's the application process. The registration process means you sit down with an advisor, you pick your classes. Once we print out your schedule or your fee invoice, you take that over to the cashier and you pay the $30 registration fee. Now you're registered. So a lot of times when we ask a student, are you registered, they will conflate the two terms and they'll be thinking that, you know, I applied, and they'll say, yes, I registered. So in actuality, they're saying yes, that they've applied, but they might not have registered. So I want you to be clear. If somebody asks you, have you registered, that means did you pick your classes and go pay your $30. Okay, so that's complete the application. That's the first step of the process. So only our GED students take the TABE test, so we're going to skip the second item. Register for classes. How many of you have already picked your classes and been over to the cashier? Please show, by show of hands, raise your hands. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so if you have not picked your classes and still need to go over to the cashier, please raise your hand. Okay, so that means everybody should be registered. Okay, so what we need to do then is re-register you today. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. What happens if you register but do not go to the cashier? So basically, you'll have to, at the end of the day, you get dropped, and then you have to come back over to B113. We re-register you, and then once you're back in to the system, you can go back to the cashier and pay the $30. Now you also have the option of paying online, so sometimes students can't make it over to the cashier. For example, students might come in right at 6 o'clock, right before we close, so we'll get you registered, but the cashier would be closed. So even if you came over here right after you registered, it would be too late. So at that point, you would have to log in to your My Seminole State account and pay online. Once again, if you haven't paid by the time the computer system, the server, purges all the people who haven't paid, then you would have to come back into the office, re-register, and then go back to the cashier or pay online. Okay, so that's register for the classes. Pay tuition. Now, in the PowerPoint, you're going to see a slide that demonstrates the way the A session works and the B session works. So for the first 8 weeks of a semester is 16 weeks. So for the first 8 weeks, we call that A session, and the second 8 weeks, we call that B session. Now, if you're coming in at the beginning of the semester during A session, which nobody here is because you all are here for B session, so you're coming in at the second half of the semester. Now, if you're coming in at the beginning of the semester during A session, you have a 10-day window. You have a 10-day window to pay. Now, once the first day of the semester passes, you must pay the same day. So basically, depending on how far out you register or pre-register before the semester begins, you have that 10-day window. So as that first day of class approaches, that 10-day window gets smaller and smaller and smaller. If you registered the 3 days before the semester begins, you have a 3-day window to pay. If you register the same day or any day after the first day of the semester, you must pay the same day, or you would get purged at the end of the night and have to come back and re-register the next day. So that includes any time you register during B session, you would have to pay the same day. Okay, so the cashier is located in this building, the SC building, or the Student Center building, and it's right inside the main entrance. There's a round kiosk, I guess you could say a desk. So you sign in there, and then they'll send you over to the cashier, which is right over to the right. There are several different ways to pay. You can pay online, you can pay on campus, you can pay at any of our campuses, Altamont, Sanford, or Oviedo. They take check, debit, money order, credit card, all the above. So there's many different ways. Next on the list is attend orientation. Everybody who's here now is attending orientation, so you can check that off your list. Right now, we are working out a system for verifying those students who attend orientation remotely via the live stream. So we'll be following up with students who are viewing the live stream and confirming that you have attended the orientation. Get your student photo ID card. Now this is actually a mandatory requirement, and the photo ID station is actually right on the other side of this wall. So as you exit this conference room and take a quick right, you'll see the photo ID station right there. It takes about 2 minutes to get your photo ID. You can get your photo ID at the bookstore as well. And we're gonna visit when we go back to the website. We're gonna visit the photo ID page, and you'll be able to see how that process works. Get your parking permit. So we're also gonna look at that on the website as well. There's a process for getting your parking permit. You have to go log in with your Seminole State username and password to the SSAP system. You enter your name, your vehicle make and model of your vehicle, the license tag, your contact information, and then you can do that on your phone. Like, you can actually go over there and do it on your phone, and then within a few minutes they'll have that ready. If you don't mind, go ahead and sign in, please, on that paper right there. And then you can grab one of each of those papers there on the table next to you, to your left. So after you get your parking permit, by the way, before you can do that, you must create your My Seminole State account. So none of these logins will work until you create your My Seminole State account, because most of your logins are a combination of your username that is created, and it might be a default password that is generated, or whatever you change that password to. So activate your email account. That's a very important step as well, especially for everybody who has online classes. You won't be able to complete or really be successful in your online classes if you're not using your Seminole State email account. So all official communication from the school will go to your Seminole State email account. That includes notifications like that you've been dropped due to non-payment, or reminders for test dates, for school events like Career Day, anything that goes on in the high school. We send out these notifications to all high school students via your My Seminole State account. So make sure that you're logging in regularly, and we'll look at that when we look at the website. Choose your career pathway. This relates to the career pathway handout that you have there. I usually take a very informal approach to that survey, which it's a one-question survey, and we try to collect that information as much as possible from students, just to get an idea of what areas students are interested in, and to bring some awareness to some of our certificate and career programs. And then follow us on social media. We have basically just about every department here at the college has its own. So we have a campus-wide Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page, but every department also has its own unique page as well. So you can always check those out online, and we will publish information like events, career days, things like that, and other important events to those pages as well. So check those regularly. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the important contacts page and run down that. So let me go ahead and navigate over there for those viewing the live stream. So that is the important contacts handout. Okay, so you've got our main line, which is mostly a voicemail line at the office, B113, and I believe the Learning Lab Supervisor / Tutor / Instructional Assistant this semester is Jane Hudson. So if you have a pen and you want to correct that, I'm going to have to get that corrected on the website. It's Jane. It actually is on the high school page, though, by the way. Her name is Jane Hudson, and her email is HudsonJ. So that would be HUDSONJ at seminolestate.edu. And she is the instructional assistant. Next is me, David Giamo. I'm one of the educational advisors. Lauren Usma is an educational advisor. And then the third person you might possibly see in B113 for advising is Alvin Mitchell. He's the office manager, and he's about halfway down the page there. Roxanne Colosa is the transition advisor. So think of your time at Seminole State Adult High School in 3 stages. You have the getting in stage, you have the getting through stage, and you have the getting out stage. So advisors in B113 and the front desk, the student services specialist, help you with the getting in part. Then mostly advisors in B113 help you with the getting through. And then when you're ready, you're in your last semester and you're ready to transfer out or to prepare for whatever comes next, then you'll be seeing Roxanne Colosa, and she is the transition advisor. So she can help with a variety of things like financial aid advice, scholarship advice, getting your college application submitted, researching colleges and schools. If you don't mind, go ahead and sign in there and then grab one of those 2 handouts. Grab one of each. She helps with career exploration, which is very, very important. I cannot overstate how important career exploration is. It's a major part of your education here, and it's a very important decision. Now, she works very closely with the Career Development Center to provide the services, the career exploration services that will benefit students in choosing a major and an occupation. Next on the list that as they relate to the high school would be Michael Woodson. He's the adult education manager. Now he'll help with a lot of like state paperwork and documentation if you have state documents that need endorsement from the adult high school. He also helps with any sort of I guess you could say disagreements that you might have with fellow students or instructors. So he's kind of the mediator, I guess you could say, for the adult high school. Frank Bonjone is the AVP, and he functions as the dean of the adult high school. So he'll make a lot of like override decisions and things if you need an override to get into a class, as well as other administrative decisions. But that's Frank Bonjone. The cashier is listed here. Sometimes if you're trying to pay online and you're having difficulty, if it's during hours of operation, in other words, if the cashier is open, you can call them and get assistance with paying online. Also, if you are trying to make it over to the cashier during ad drop period, which is a week-long period, and you want to see if they'll sort of stay open for a few more minutes until you can get over there, you can also call, so that's helpful. The computer help desk at 708-2000, that should be pretty easy to remember. And it's going to be especially important for those of you who have online classes. You use a variety of logins, a variety of accounts. You've got your My Seminole State account, you have your email account, you have your Canvas account. For those of you who are doing online high school classes, you have your educator account, you have your SSAP account. So there's a wide variety of logins that you'll need to maintain. And remember, I advise students to write them down in some secure location, or I tend to put them on my phone and put them, lock them, so they're secure on my phone. That way, at least I always have them with me. The computer help desk can help out in most cases, but not in all cases. So you might need to escalate. If you still can't get assistance from the help desk, you can come by the office, Krista in our office, or over here in the Student Center, in the computer lab in the Student Center, they can reset your username and password back to the default. Sometimes they have to do a hard reset. There's just nothing else will fix the problem. So you can either call the help desk if that doesn't work. Now, obviously, there is a way, in some cases, if you have access to your email account, you can click the forgot password, and it will then send a reset link to your email account. Now, a lot of times students forgot how to log into their email account, so now you're back at square one, in which case you would have to probably visit one of our offices to get that reset manually. But that's the help desk. The Career Development Center, I mentioned earlier when I was introducing you to Roxanne Colosa. So they work very closely to help students research careers, research occupations. They help with, they have job boards over there, so they help with employment, with writing up your resume, interview skills. They have a wide variety of services. We'll take a quick look at their website in a minute. So that's the Career Development Center, and they work with Roxanne Colosa. Disability Support Services, so you met Marshall earlier, and we took a quick look at the website. Now, the important thing to remember for students who are going to request accommodations is that you need to take action early in the semester, because there are a variety of tests that you may want to receive accommodations on. We have the FSA, that's the reading test, the Algebra 1 EOC, the Geometry EOC or end of course exam, the Biology EOC, and the American History EOC. So, you will not be able to receive accommodations on these tests unless you have previously received your accommodations letter from Disability Support Services. Once they issue your accommodations letter, then we can forward the accommodations request to Tallahassee, because there are certain tests that we take on campus. For example, the PERT. So if you had accommodations through our DSS office and you wanted to take the PERT, you wouldn't need to do anything other than just show them your accommodations letter from us. But in terms of taking the state exams, we've got to forward your accommodations eligibility to Tallahassee so that they can approve it, and then you can receive those accommodations on the state exams. So it can be sort of a long process, and you want to make sure that you get that eligibility established early in the semester instead of waiting right before the test, because if you wait, it'll be too late, and you won't be able to get the accommodations on that test. Okay, so that's your important contacts. Any questions before we move on to the website? So far, everybody's good? Okay. I'm going to save career pathways till the end, because I'm going to try to keep this down under an hour and 15 minutes. So let's take a look at the website. Go back to the home page here. Okay, so here we are looking at the home page, and there are 4 or 5 main features from the home page that you need to be familiar with. First of all, you've got the search box, and this is probably the best way to navigate the website. There is a way, if you are familiar with the architecture of the website and the layout of the I guess you could say the map of the website, and you know how to click, 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 click. Just like previously when I navigated over to the high school page, I clicked on degrees and programs, and then I went over here because I knew Academic Foundations was over here, and I clicked on the adult high school here, and then in a minute we're going to take a look at the adult high school. So you're navigating through a series of clicks to get to your destination. You can also just simply use the search box. In this case, we might just type in adult high school online, and I think if let's see what it is. So there's our adult high school. So as long as you know the keywords that you're looking for, and sometimes you can do, just kind of experiment with these keywords, you can jump to your destination a lot faster than trying to click around and figure out where you're trying to go. So that's the search box. Next, we're going to look at the My Seminole State page where you create your My Seminole State account. So by show of hands, please raise your hand if you have already created your My Seminole State account with your username and password. Please raise your hand. Hopefully I see everybody's hand, and I do. That's great. That's excellent. So your My Seminole State page, which you create by clicking create new student account, and then just following the prompts and making sure that you record your username and password. That's very important because it can be a real bear to have that reset. Like I said, often you have to actually physically come on campus and have them do a hard manual reset if you forget that information. Obviously, as I mentioned before, you can click the forgot your password, which then would send a reset link to your email. Now that only works as long as you have set up your email and you can access your email, your Seminole State email, not your Yahoo or Gmail email, but your Seminole State email. Now, once you've created your account, you will have access to the Student Services Center. How many of you, by the way, I know you created your account, how many of you have actually logged into your Student Services Center and taken a look at that page? Okay, it's like your home page. Now, just a word of advice, if you haven't navigated all the way to the Student Services Center homepage, there is a verification page. The first time you log in, it's going to ask you to verify your demographic information, your contact information, and your veteran status. So once you do that, you click verify and submit. Now you're going to go to your student services page. So just be aware. I've actually had students call me and say, I can't see what you're talking about. I can't see my student services page. And I say, well, tell me what you see. And they say, it says here to click if I'm a veteran. And I say, okay, yeah, go ahead and do that. Then you'll be logged into your Student Services Center. So from the Student Services Center page, you can access a variety of information. You can look at your schedule. Yesterday, which was Tuesday was the first day of the semester. And I saw about 40 students, and probably about half of them just needed a printout of their schedule. So if you want to avoid, the wait and being late for class and all of the hassle that goes along with trying to get a copy of your schedule, remember that you can just go on your phone, log into your My Seminole State account, and pull up your schedule, and there you can see your classes with the location and the time and the teacher and so on. So remember that if you use those technology tools that are right at your fingertips, it can make your life a lot easier. So in addition to being able to access your schedule, you can see your grades. The same thing happens on the tail end of the semester. So usually the first day of the semester, we have a bunch of students coming in saying, I need a copy of my schedule. At the end of the semester, we have a bunch of students coming in saying, I need a copy of my grades. I need to see my grades. So I actually got tired yesterday. I was giving that spiel so many times. Have you logged into your Seminole State account? Did you pull up your transcript? Did you take a look at your grade? No. And I just started printing up schedules and scores. So once again, if you want to avoid the wait and you want to just use that technology right at your fingertips, log into your My Seminole State account, pull up your transcript, and you will be able to see your, actually if you pull up your schedule, you should also be able to see the grades. Now it usually takes them a day or two after the end of the semester, after the last day of the semester. So that was the 15th. October 15 was the last day of this A session. And so by October 17, I would say it's safe, about 2 days after the last day, it's safe to log in and check out your grades. So in addition, yeah, you have a question?
On the Student Center, are you able to print out your enrollment verification?
No, enrollment verification is an official document. So there's a form. There's a form that if you type in enrollment verification in the search box, you should be able to print out that form and then bring it in to the Student Services Center. Have a Student Services Specialist process that form for you. I think there's a 24-hour turnaround for getting enrollment verification. Make sure that you identify yourself as an adult high school student. That's very important. 99% of the students on this campus are college students. Only 1% of the students on this campus are high school students like yourselves. So when you come over here to the SC building or any other building other than the B building, because when we see a student in the B building, we assume that you're a high school student. But any other office on this campus is going to most likely assume that you're a college student, and they're going to respond to you and answer your questions based on what they would tell a college student. So make sure that you first of all identify yourself as an adult high school student before you ask your question. And then in this case, you would say, I'm an adult high school student and I need an enrollment verification. And they'll provide that for you. You fill out the form, submit that, and they provide that for you.
So if you submitted it before the ad drop period, will it get processed before then or no?
Yes, it would. This isn't a request for a transcript with grades. This is simply proof that you are actually a student here and enrolled and currently enrolled. That's enrollment verification. Okay. Any other questions? I saw another hand. Okay. So once again, that's your My Seminole State account. Just to review, you can see your transcript. You can print out a copy of your transcript. Unofficial, not official. Now, if you ever need an official copy of your transcript, remember that you must identify yourself as a high school student. There is a special form. Just in the search box, type in adult high school transcript request. If you do not follow that process, it's going to send you to a third-party website, and you have to pay, I believe, $8 or $11, and then they're going to do a search after they take your money that's non-refundable and say, we don't have a transcript for you. So you basically lost that money. So make sure that you follow the correct process for requesting an adult high school transcript. Let's see, what else do we have here? So from the Student Services Center, you can see your grades, you can get your transcript, you can pay online. That's where you pay online for those of you who are distance learners and those of you who don't want to make a trip out to the campus after you register. You can pay online via your My Seminole State account. You can see your to-do list. You can change your contact information, like you can update your address and phone number and things like that. So there's a lot of important features on the Student Services Center page that you need to take advantage of. It'll make your life easier, I promise. Next on the list is the email. Now, when you set up your email, you must use the first-time user instructions. So, and it's very self-explanatory. It's intuitive, and okay, so I wasn't expecting that. Okay. I guess we could say, was that first-time users? Is that what we got when we hit first-time users? Okay, there we go. That's what we wanted. Okay, so basically you're going to use your username that you created when you created your My Seminole State account, and your email address, your Seminole State email address will be your username at live.seminolestate.edu, which is different from employees here. Employees don't have the live. We just have our last name, first initial, at seminolestate.edu. So please don't get confused about that. Students have the live.seminolestate.edu. So you follow the prompts, step 2, step 3, you change your password, and then you log in to your account. Now, once you have created your My Seminole State account, your Seminole State email account, you'll need to maintain that. Make sure that you keep that username, address rather, and password login for your email account handy, because like I said, you'll need it often. Now, you can also have that email account forwarded to your regular mobile device so that you automatically get that feed. Any emails that come to your Seminole State email account will be forwarded via a POP server to your regular email account, like your Gmail account, for example. Once you have created your account, you can also download a copy of Office 365, which is, that's a great deal. It's the latest version of Office 365. They also have the Android and iOS versions. So that's the email account. Remember that everything that the school sends you, including all the notifications, the important date reminders, all of those go to your Seminole State account. For those of you who have online classes, your instructors will only communicate via, in other words, they will only accept emails from your Seminole State email account. They will only send emails to your Seminole State account. I can't tell you how many times I have students call me and say, I've tried and tried and tried to get a hold of my online instructor. They won't answer my emails. I don't know what's going on. And I ask them, did you contact them via your Seminole State email account? No, I sent it through my Yahoo. That's why. So make sure that you always use, for all school purposes, you always use your Seminole State email account. All right, moving on from there. Any questions about the email, by the way? Any questions about that? Okay. Everybody's good with that? So the next link that you need to be familiar with, or the next feature of the website that you need to be familiar with, is Canvas. Now, almost all of your instructors will use Canvas. Canvas is a cloud-based app that allows teachers and students to communicate, and you can submit work, you can download assignments. So it's a very useful feature and tool for students and instructors to use in doing coursework. How many of you are, well, nobody at this point would be registered for Algebra 1, but next semester, if you register for Algebra 1, the whole entire course will be taught via Canvas. A lot of times, instructors will post PowerPoints and notes and videos and all kinds of supplemental material that you need to pass the class on Canvas. So make sure that you set up your Canvas login, you understand how that works. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it is your username, and then the login is the default password that you use for your email account. Go ahead and sign in on that sheet there, and then take one of each of the handouts on the back. So you would click the Canvas login, and once again, you just follow the steps for how to log in. It explains the whole process and the default password. If you have problems getting into Canvas, you can always call the help desk. You can also call Jane Hudson, not call her, email Jane Hudson at hudsonj@Seminole State. Okay, any questions about Canvas? Everybody's good with that? So keep in mind that, like I said, almost all your instructors will use Canvas. For those of you who have online classes, please be careful. Do not confuse Canvas, which, you know, I can see how that might happen because it says online classes right here. This is not your high school online class login. It's a different login. It's mostly for college students who have online classes, but our high school instructors use it as well. So now we're going to go to the high school website, and we're going to look at what you need to know on the high school website. Okay, so here we are on the high school page, and the main features, other than the information that I mentioned at the beginning of the orientation that's on the admission page at the bottom. You can see all of the handouts that I have passed out or made available are there at the bottom under orientation. You can also see the adult high school PowerPoint presentation there at the bottom as well. All right, so the main features on the high school page that you need to be familiar with, obviously adult high school online. We're going to look at that first, and then graduation and testing. Those are the three most important. For new students, you probably want to look at the course schedule as well. So I would say if there's four, the course schedule would be the fourth one. So let's look at the adult high school online page first. The first thing on the adult high school page that you need to look at would be, in this case, it's the fall B. I mentioned earlier that you're coming in at the B session, not the A session. So you would need the fall B e-learning schedule. Now, this lists the day, time, and location of each orientation for each online class that you're taking. Every single course that we offer online is listed here, and each has a corresponding mandatory orientation for that online class. You have to do these each semester. So I should say each session. So if you have English 4, Part A and Part B, you would attend the orientation for Part A, and then again the orientation for Part B at the beginning of the B session. So as you can see, all of the days, times, and locations are listed there on the far right columns. Any questions about those? Now, obviously today is a Thursday, and you'll notice that the orientations are always the first 2 days of the session. So because Tuesday was the first day, all of the classes listed on the top half were on Tuesday, so that date has passed. The orientations on the bottom half were Wednesday last night at 4, and they're all at 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So what you need to do when you're planning ahead to take an online class is make sure you schedule your work schedule or your availability so that you can be so that you're able to attend those orientations. Now, earlier I mentioned there's a process. If for some unavoidable reason you are not able to attend these mandatory online class orientations, you can contact the instructors. You can see in the middle column each instructor's email address is listed there. So it's your responsibility to contact them and let them know, what happened. Hey, I had an emergency last night. I was not able to attend your online orientation, and I would like the orientation packet. Now, that orientation packet that you receive at the orientation includes the student contract, it includes the PACE chart, it includes the syllabus, all of the necessary information that you need to get off on the right foot for those online classes, which is very, very important. And the main reason and the main thing that you need really is that PACE chart, because so you need your login. That's the number one thing you need, and then you need the PACE chart. The reason you need your login is because you can't access the class unless you have the login. The reason you need the PACE chart is because there's a certain amount of work that's due each week. So you've got 8 weeks to do the class. We're already basically through the first week, so now you have 7 weeks, and the first assignment is due that following Monday. So for those of you that haven't gotten started yet, you're a little bit behind. You're going to have to do some catch-up work to make sure that you get your first assignments due by Monday. Once again, if you fall behind, in other words, if the PACE chart prescribes units 1 through 5 to be done in the first week and you don't do any work, then you get behind and you have to do the first and the second week during the second week. So it can compound exponentially. So make sure you follow the PACE chart. Okay. The next feature that I want to point out on the online page is the login. This is the portal, the fatdeckflvs.net, and these are FLVS courses. So for those of you who have previously done FLVS courses, it's the same curriculum. They just use our instructors instead of FLVS instructors. All right, so that's your portal, the educator portal. Your username is most likely going to be your last name, first initial, and your password is going to be your 7-digit student ID number. Now, there are often variations on that. That's why you need to contact the instructor to make sure that you have the correct username and password. Now, if you're taking English 4A, Geometry A, World History, and Biology A, you should see all 4 of those classes listed when you log in. Once you click on each individual class, you'll see a series of modules or assignments due. Make sure you refer to your PACE chart. That's very important. If you're doing Part A or B, you need to make sure you're doing, like let's say you're doing Part B of a course, that PACE chart is going to say start with module number 15. So if you start with module number 1 and you're supposed to be starting with module number 15, you're going to be doing the wrong work. So make sure you get clear instructions from the instructor and that you follow those instructions carefully and you follow the PACE chart. If you have difficulty getting logged in, if you're somehow locked out of a class or the educator portal, you will need to email Jane Hudson. This is very important, and she's very quick to respond. Now, our online instructors have 2 jobs. They're teaching during the day, either on the college or at a local high school, so that means they're not going to be available to answer your emails or questions until after 4 o'clock, let's say. So sometimes it's if you're jammed up and you need a quick response, I recommend that you always copy Jane Hudson when you send an instructor an email. That way she's always in the loop and she's able to help you quickly. Any questions about the educator portal and where you log in for your online classes? Okay, moving on. How much time do we got? I know we're running behind. I'm going to try to pick up the pace here. Okay. The next link is the testing link. Now, previously you heard me refer to the EOCs, the end of course exams. These end of course exams are state mandated exams related to Common Core requirements, and there's 5 of them. There's the FSA, the Algebra 1 EOC, the Geometry EOC, the Biology EOC, and the U.S. History EOC. Now, all of these EOCs count as 30% of your grade, except for the FSA reading and the Algebra 1 EOC. You've got to flat out pass those. The others are a combination of your class grade. Let's say you got a B in Biology Part B, and you bombed the Biology EOC. You got an F in that. So because the EOC is only 30% of your grade, you will still end up, even though you failed the EOC, you will still end up passing the course. It's going to bring your grade down a little bit, but you'll still end up passing the course. Now, if you do not take the EOC at all, then you will get a pending grade. It will not post to your transcript, and you will not be able to graduate. So it's very, very important that you refer to this calendar on the testing page so that you are able to take all of your EOCs as necessary. Now, let me draw your attention to the test schedule here. Right now it says the fall 2018 test schedule. So if any of you are registered for any of the classes I mentioned, specifically in this case it would be the Biology, the Geometry, or the U.S. History Part B, you're going to have an EOC this semester. And I'm going to show you how to find out when those EOCs are scheduled. Now, every EOC has a corresponding EPAT. This is a mandatory practice test. You're not graded on it. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes. But if you do not sign in for the EPAT, you will not be eligible to take the EOC. It's mandatory, and it's often a very big problem for students because they don't tend to take the EPAT seriously. They're like, practice test, I don't need that. No, you do need it. It's mandatory. The state will not let you take the EOC unless you show for the EPAT. Now, when you show for the EPAT or EOC, you need to bring your Florida ID. It has to be a Florida ID, either a Florida ID card or Florida driver's license. If you do not have your Florida ID or driver's license, you need to get that as soon as possible because these EOCs are right around the corner, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we've already passed through August and September, and we're into October. Now, the last week of October, October 30 and 31, we've got our U.S. History, Biology, and Geometry EPATs. Those are those mandatory practice tests, and they're going to be held in the B building. That's B as in boy, room 205. They're all in B205. And there's multiple sessions. There's a morning, afternoon, and evening session, so there's really plenty of opportunity for you to make sure you make those. You'll also notice that there are makeup dates. You'll see that November 2nd is the EPAT makeup. Yes, question? That is correct. Only if you're taking Biology Part B, U.S. History Part B, or Geometry Part B. Then let's scroll down to the last week of November, and you can see that the U.S. History and the Biology EOCs, those are the big tests, are scheduled for the 28th, and the makeup is on November 30. Now, this calendar is available for printout. All you've got to do is navigate to the high school page, click the testing link, and print out this calendar. The Geometry is a 2-day test session, and it is December 3rd and December 4th. Notice the testing center for all of these EOCs is SC239. That's right up above us on the second floor, SC239. Okay, any questions about the EOCs? Very important. Yes? That's a good question. So if you are not able to attend the EPAT or the EOC, what happens is you'll get a pending grade, and that pending grade will stay on the transcript until you're able you know, whether it's the next semester or the semester after that or the semester after that, at some point down the road, eventually you've got to show for the EOC. So as soon as you take that EOC, then that pending grade will change to a permanent grade and you'll be able to graduate. But for however long it takes you to take that EOC, you won't be able to graduate. You'll just have that pending grade. Okay. So that was the testing link. Oh, one more thing about the testing link. You are able to substitute the SAT or the ACT for the reading FSA and the Algebra 1 EOC. Now we offer the PERT. The PERT is a math test. Well, it has a reading, language, and math, but you only need the math test for high school purposes. For high school graduation purposes, you can substitute the PERT for the Algebra 1 EOC. That's a test on demand, so you can take it any day, any time that the testing center is open. Whereas the SAT and ACT, obviously, those are not free tests. You have to pay and take them only during, you know, the test dates that they have advertised on their calendars. But that information for substituting SAT and ACT is right there on the testing page if you want to read more about that. Okay, last, let's click on graduation. So we have 2 graduation ceremonies a year. One is in May, one is in December. So we have one coming up in December, December 10. There is a process for graduating. Now there's 2 steps, or 2 parts, I guess you could say, to graduation. One is your intent to graduate. Every student that would like to receive a diploma from Seminole State, standard high school diploma from Seminole State College, needs to submit an intent to graduate. This is also called a diploma application. So you sit down with an advisor, we go through your transcript, we cross all the T's, dot all the I's, make sure all your ducks are in a row, and then we submit your intent to graduate form. Now, the other part is the actual ceremony. It's called a cap and gown ceremony. If you would like to attend the cap and gown ceremony, you have to RSVP for that ceremony. And the way you do that is, and I would just recommend, just for time's sake, you know, I'm not going to go over the whole page, but I recommend that you click on this graduation link and read through it to make sure that you understand clearly the process that you need to follow. So the commencement ceremony paragraph right here has a link for you to click on Order Your Free Regalia. And when you click that link, it basically tells you that in order to RSVP for the cap and gown ceremony and get your free cap and gown, you have to follow this process. So the deadline to RSVP is October 26th. And it basically says click that link right there. That's going to take you to the Herff Jones website. That's going to take you to an outside link. And you follow the prompts. You enter Seminole State, and you enter adult high school, and you enter Sanford campus, and then you put in all your contact information. You add the cap and gown to your shopping cart. It's going to say zero balance due because the school pays for it. And then you submit. It sends a link to your email, your Seminole State email, and you print that out. You take that over to the bookstore, and you can pick up your free cap and gown, your 10 tickets to the ceremony. The ceremony is December 12 at 7 p.m. at the CFE Arena, and you know, you can watch a video of what the ceremony looks like. It looks like it's very nice. So yeah, that is the process for attending the cap and gown ceremony, and you know, like I said, you can get the picture. There's several packets that you can order on the Herff Jones website. Any questions about attending the cap and gown ceremony? And remember that it's 2 separate processes. If you submit an intent to graduate, you are not RSVP'd for the cap and gown ceremony. That's a separate process. So that's what you need to get your diploma from Seminole State. This is just the ceremony. Everybody clear on that? Okay. Moving on. So we talked about the high school, the admissions page, the high school online, the graduation and testing. I was just going to click very quickly on the schedule. You can see that Fall A was August 21 to October 15. Fall B, which is the semester we are currently in and that has just started, is right here. It ends December 10. It has all of the on-campus classes. Each on-campus class, there are 4 periods in a day. Each period is about an hour long, and there's a half-hour lunch between second and third period. And you can see the teacher who teaches, the room where the class is located. The second page is the list of online classes, which also has the instructors listed and the mandatory orientation dates that we looked at earlier. So that is the schedule. And that's pretty much, that wraps up the website. I do encourage you to go back through the website and reread through all of the different features on the high school page that we have looked at here during the orientation. Now we're going to go back to the, actually we need to go back to the admissions page, because I'm going to use the PowerPoint there, or the, and we're just going to run through that very quickly. Okay, so welcome to the adult high school. Now, for me, the key operative word in this slide is adult. A lot of students, especially the younger students fresh out of high school, are probably more accustomed to more hand-holding and more, the school taking a more hands-on approach and handling all kinds of different issues. It's sort of like what I compare to an automatic car wash, where you just sit there and you enjoy the ride all the way through and you come out the other end. Here, it's a manual car wash. You got to do everything yourself. You have to show up for your tests. You have to do your homework. You have to manage your time. You have to, it's just like being a college student. It's all on you. So your success or failure depends on you. And then a lot, in my opinion, of what is embodied in the word adult high school is the attitude, the maturity, and like I said, the responsibility. Okay, moving on. So we already previously looked at the adult, student checklist, and the we didn't look at policies and procedures. Just because just for time's sake, I'm just going to refer you to the website. If you go to the website and you just type in the word catalog, then you will be able to search that. It's a very large PDF file, but you'll be able to, it'll list the table of contents on the left column, and you'll be able to click on policies and procedures and read all about them. I know it's a long read. It's probably about 50 pages worth of policies and procedures, but you need to be aware of those. And if you plan on transferring to Seminole State, you'll be ahead of the curve. You'll already be aware of the policies and procedures there. Student services, we'll talk a little bit about those. Adult education planning, I'll say a few words about that. Career pathways, and of course we already just talked about graduation. So let's scroll through here. We're not going to talk about that because we already did the checklist, and we already talked about important contacts. So as I said before, the catalog is only located online. I believe that the school used to spend like $120,000, $150,000 every year just printing up this catalog, and it just got to be too expensive. So we now only have the catalog online. It is updated every year, and all of the academic calendars are posted there. By the way, speaking of academic calendars, we're going to go back to the home page in a minute, and I'll show you where to find the adult education calendar, because there are a few differences between the college academic calendar and the adult education academic calendar. But once again, all kinds of information on degrees and certificate programs, the admission requirements to the college and so on are in the catalog. Sometimes information is easier to access via the catalog, and then sometimes it's just easier to find on the website. Some departments have their own pages, and it's easier to find that access that information through the website. So basically, be honest, don't cheat, be respectful inside and outside of the classroom, respect the school property. This is a shared space, so it requires that everybody all be on the same page in terms of respecting each other, respecting the instructors, and respecting the school property. if you depend on, I'm going to use the word cheating. Some people think that's a harsh word, but if you depend on, let's say, extra help that is not tutoring, let's say, but help to pass your tests and get your homework done and so on. For example, copying someone's math homework, you're going to hit a brick wall. You'll hit the brick wall on the test or when you transfer to the college side, but sooner or later you hit that wall where because you were not actually learning the material, that you won't be able to pass certain barriers that will come up down the line. And then dress code, that's also in the campus catalog. Just basically the things that I've seen that kind of have brought, caught my attention is, this is not a pajama party, so please don't wear pajamas. And, this is not the club, so please don't come to school ready to go clubbing. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Basically, that means we don't share your information with anybody. It's sort of like the HIPAA form, where offices do not disclose your medical information. We don't disclose your school records unless you fill out a release of information form for family members or anybody that you list specifically on the release of information form. So keep that in mind. Drug, alcohol, and tobacco-free campus. As it turns out, probably the most convenient off-campus location if you need to grab a smoke is across the street of the B building. So the B building is on the back side of the campus, and pretty much off-campus property would be the other side of the street. So that's the only place I know of anywhere near the campus that is technically, it's not an authorized location, but that's the closest off-campus location. Campus safety and security. Any of the phones that you see in the hall that look just like that red phone there will allow you to access emergency services. And I would also encourage you to add the phone number, I believe it's 2179, campus security. So that would be 407-708-2179 to contact security if you have any sort of an emergency. This is our non-discrimination statement, and if you have any discrimination-related problems, please contact staff or faculty. There is also a complaint form online if you want to go that route. We already talked about the student email setup and how to get help if you get locked out. You can call the help desk. You can visit one of our student services specialists who can reset your access and so on. We're going to skip the quiz questions. We have tutoring in B100. That's at the end of the hall, located in the adult high school building, the B building. And they are open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So they'll help with a variety, pretty much any subject that you take in the adult high school, you can find tutoring help with. You can also go to the STAR Center. The STAR Center is in J005, and they can also help you specifically with your writing and math. Not so much the science and history per se, but definitely the writing and the math. We already spoke with, our marshal already spoke to you earlier regarding the services that are available via disability support services. Most of our students that get accommodations will get extended test time. That's, I would say, probably 90% of the accommodations that students receive is extended test time. If you have questions, come by the office and we'll put you in contact. The Career Development Center I mentioned earlier when I mentioned Roxanne Colosa is a very helpful office. Career counseling, major exploration, match workplace and personality using assessments. So anybody ever heard of the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator? Myers-Briggs, it's like a personality survey. They do a variety of those types of surveys, and you just compile all that information. And if you meet with Roxanne Colosa, she also has access to those surveys, and she can steer you towards several websites we use, like My Plan, which the college also uses. My Career Shines. There's a variety, a handful of websites that help you with career exploration. I consider choosing a career or a major one of the top 3 decisions you will make in your life. I mean, it's a very, very important decision that will impact your future greatly. So I would give this all the attention you could possibly scrape together, and definitely meet with Roxanne Colosa to explore career development. Your student ID card, we're going to jump back to the website in a minute to look at that. But notice that you can use this for a variety of reasons. It functions as your library card. You can use the food and vending machines, library services, bookstore purchases, and free entry to Seminole State College events, as well as local events that offer a student discount. So, by the way, it also offers as your link. It also functions as your Links bus pass. So if you want to ride the Links free, you show your student ID card. And we'll take a look at the website in just a second to show you where to find that information, how to set that up. The student photo ID functions as your library card, and this is a shot of the library. It's on it's the smaller side of the building to the left. It's got 2 floors. It's got about 100 computers on the second floor. You got books, audio, DVDs, computers, laptops, e-readers to check out. Just a word of caution, watch out for library fees. You make sure you bring those books back. And if you check out any of that technology, definitely bring it back. I saw a student with like a $300 library fine on her account. So you want to avoid that for sure. Take care of the equipment and make sure you return it. All right, so we'll talk about the Links bus pass in just a second. And our social media sites, we already talked about that. You're probably already aware, since everybody here is already registered, except for somebody who needs to come back and re-register, that we have daytime and nighttime classes. Well, the nighttime classes are online, I would say. So it's basically daytime from 9 to, and the hours vary. You'll notice these hours are old because they were based on the summer, but 9 to 2:30 right now. And there, as I mentioned previously, there are 4 periods on campus. So daytime classes there. And then the reason I say nighttime for online is because that computer lab, room 205 upstairs, they're open, and you can meet by appointment with instructors. So some people in the past have treated them as nighttime classes just by coming on campus. By the way, that's a good way to improve your outcomes when you take an online class. Just getting out of the house where you're away from distractions. You can, be in a quiet room. You can meet with tutors. It's just a good way to stay focused and improve, like I said, the outcomes on your online classes. You can get a lot of work done. Sometimes students will have a mixture of on-campus and online, so they'll have a gap between 2 classes, and they'll just go to the computer lab in between and do their online classes. Okay, previously I mentioned A session and B session, and you can see how that works there. The semester ends December 10, and pre-registration, you might want to take note of this, pre-registration for the spring semester starts, November 19. November 19. So if you want to be the early bird and get the classes that you need instead of having to try to get an override into a class that's already full, make sure that you are one of the first people to register for the spring, which starts January 7. So the spring semester will start January 7. Make sure you pre-register in November, after November 19. You already know the tuition is $30, and we talked about being dropped due to non-payment. Now, the first week of class is the add drop period. That means you can make changes. You can make changes up to 3 days after the first day of class for on campus, and up to 4 days after class begins for online classes. So technically, classes started Tuesday. So today is the last day to make changes to your on-campus schedule, and then tomorrow will be the last day to make changes to your schedule for online classes. After add drop is over, your schedule is locked in. by the way, if you need to stop attending classes, it's very important that you withdraw properly. If you do not come by the office and fill out a withdrawal form, 9 times out of 10, the instructor will give you an F. So you can either get a W, which does not impact your GPA, or you'll get an F. And you're rolling the dice, really, if you don't. In other words, if you just stop attending the class and you don't tell the teacher and you don't tell anybody, you just kind of drop off the radar, it's like rolling the dice. Some of your teachers will give you W's, some of them will give you F's. Now, F's negatively impact your GPA. I've seen students come in with a 2.5, and after 3 or 4 semesters of not withdrawing properly, they have a 1.8, and now they can't graduate. I'll let each instructor handle your attendance. They each have, some are strict, some are lenient, but they each have their own attendance policy. For those, obviously, for those of you online, attendance isn't going to be an issue. Skip those questions. So this is the part where I talk about Roxanne Colosa and what she does for students. Now, Dr. Dan Scott is also affiliated with the high school. He can help with the National Honor Society if you're interested in joining, as well as dual enrollment. And then Roxanne Colosa, listed at the bottom there, is the transition advisor. So she does a wide variety of things, including helping you submit your intent to graduate, helping you register or RSVP for the graduation ceremony, helping you do career exploration. So she does a lot of stuff on the tail end of the process. If you have questions about dual enrollment or the Honor Society, please come by the office later, and we'll be glad to share that information with you. And there is, by the way, if you just type in scholarships on the homepage in the search box, you're going to find a whole bunch of information about scholarships that are available for our students transferring to the, from the high school to the college. And we do hope you transfer to the college when you're done with us, but we will be happy to help you find a plan and plan out your education, post-education plans, or post-secondary education plans, I should say, no matter what they are. And we already talked about the Honor Society. And just for time purposes, I'm going to skip the spiel on career pathways. I will encourage you to check out our website and look at all of our degrees and programs, and then speak with Roxanne Colosa if you want more information about the Career Pathways program. And these are just some slides on some of the AS and AA degrees and certificate programs that we have here at Seminole State. And we already talked about graduation and how to RSVP for the cap and gown ceremony, and those are just some shots from one of our recent graduations. Okay, I think that's it. So that was the PowerPoint. So we've looked at the website. I know your brains are probably fried right now. You have these blank looks on your faces right now. But once again, all of the information that we have covered is on the website. So if you feel like I was just flying through this and it was just flying over your head, remember that everything that we've discussed is on the website. And also, I'm just a phone call away. My phone number and email is on the contact list. I prefer an email just because I have that record, and it allows me to come back to it later, because basically if I'm with a student, and I often am, then I'm not going to answer your phone. So if you send an email, then I have that there, and I can get back to that later. So I do prefer emails. Yes? Yes, please do hang on to those papers. And like I said, if you do happen to lose them, they are available on the website. By the way, just as a tip, when you get your schedules, that's the list of your classes, I always recommend that you take a picture with your phone, because outside of going and logging into your My Seminole State account, where you can access your schedule and other important information, if you just take a picture with your phone, you've got that right there at your fingertips as well. Any questions for me before you go? No? Yeah? One? I will be back in my office as soon as we close up here. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming. I hope this was helpful for you, and we'll see you around campus. Right now, all of the online classes are full. So come by the office.